No, I'm kidding. But that's glad to hear. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about these things. And by the way, for those of you online, please feel free to, as I say, join us in the chat, share with us your comments and other observations you might have. There are going to be a lot of videos through this. So here's one I want to show, another video. And I think it will sort of set the mood for what I'm going to talk about. Yeah.
You can write everything down if you want to. Be brave enough to write every one of your goals down. But I'm going to tell you something. Life's going to hit you in your mouth, and you got to do me a huge favor. Your why has to be greater than that knockdown. And I love it. Buster Douglas got knocked out. Nobody ever got knocked out by Mike Tyson and ever got back up. It was almost a 10 count. He was stumbling. It was 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, ding, ding. Saved by the bell. He goes to his corner. The whole world is like, that's it. Once he comes back out, that's it. Mike's going to just hammer it. And exactly that. Mike Tyson came out like, I got him. I got this kid up against the rope. Listen to me. Many of you right now, life's got you up against the rope. You can't give up. You can't give in. Listen to me. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And if life's got you backed up, I need you to do what Buster Douglas did. Buster Douglas started fighting back. And the world was shocked. Goliath has been knocked down. What happened? And they went to Buster Douglas and they asked Buster Douglas simply like, what happened? And Buster Douglas said, listen to me. It's real simple. Before my mother died, she told the whole world that I was going to be Mike Tyson. And 2 days before the fight, my mother died. Buster Douglas had a decision to make. When his mother died, he could die with his mother, or he made a decision, I can wake up and I can live for mom. And he knocked Mike Tyson out simply because his why was greater than that punch. His why was greater than defeat. His why was greater than his trial and his tribulation. And I'm telling you, if you don't know what your why is, and your why isn't strong, you're going to get knocked out every single day.
Okay, just to put that into context, 1989, Mike Tyson, 1989, Mike Tyson hitherto had been undefeated. We all know who the great Mike Tyson is, right? One of the greatest boxers that ever lived. Japan, 1989, he is fighting this underdog called Buster Douglas, and Buster Douglas does the impossible and knocks Mike Tyson out. And resiliency. If you interview Mike Douglas to this day, or Buster Douglas to this day, he talks a lot about resiliency. So, what is resiliency to you? I mean, what is, it could be a definition. What does it mean to you? What do you understand by that? What is resiliency to you? What is it? Am I going too far? Yeah. What is resiliency? Or to be resilient? Some idea. What do you think it is? You can even give a synonym for the word resilience. Yes, Amy, thank you so much.
To keep going.
To keep going, right? Yeah, okay, keep going. Mm-hmm.
Being adaptable.
Being adaptable?
Yeah.
Yeah, being adaptable, I like that. Mm-hmm.
Getting back up and then doing.
After he'd been knocked out, right. Buster Douglas was actually knocked down and he got back up. Yeah, so I think we all have an idea of what it is, and this is what I was going to cover today, but I like this, the ability to sort of handle, situations. Actually, Buster Douglas said your why has to be greater than your problems. I love that. But the ability to handle stress and adversity, using certain strategies, which we're going to talk about. Do I need to speak into this, guys? Okay. Or, as it says over there, bounce back. Some of you said that. Do I need to turn it on?
No, it's for the people.
Oh, it's for everybody else. Thank you for that. So we have an idea of what it is. Bouncing back, adaptation, roll with the punches, get back to your normal state of functioning, whatever that is. let me take a step back and then I'll come forward. So I think we all know who this gentleman is, right? But he's alive, right? The Chinese haven't. He has gone for a while. He's alive. So Jack Ma was speaking at the World Economic Forum. This is a few years ago, of course, before he got into hot water with the Chinese government. And I'd love for you just to...
I believe if a person wants to be successful, you should have a high EQ. But if you don't want to lose quickly, you should have a high IQ. But if you want to be respected, you should have high LQ, the Q of love. So those three Qs put together, a lot of men, they have a high IQ but low EQ, a very tiny LQ. Women, balance-wise, they're the best. If you want your company to be successful, if you want your company to operate with wisdom, with care, women is the best.
Okay. And for purposes of this, EQ is emotional quotient. It's actually emotional intelligence. We can actually quibble about that. Some people actually don't equate EQ with EI. But for purposes of this, we'll talk about that. So he's saying you need those three Qs to be successful, right? The Q of love, the Q of emotion, and the Q of intelligence. And for purposes of this, he says women are the best. Again, we can have a conversation whether women are more emotionally intelligent than men. But I want to focus on the emotional intelligence aspect, because that is key to me to being able to bounce back, to be resilient. That emotional intelligence. And by the way, if you are not either leading with emotional intelligence, if you're a manager here, if you're not a team member that uses emotional intelligence, then resilience is going to be something that's very difficult for you to cultivate. All right, here's a medical question for you. How many cells are there in the human body? How many cells are there in the human body? So it's not a trick question. How many cells are there? All right, so, you know, our skin, our hair, our organs, we're all made up of individual cells. How many cells do you think there are in the human body?
A billion.
Billion, right? Yeah, actually, yeah, maybe a billion? Could be a trick. I don't think that number has been quantified. But certainly billions, maybe trillions. Now, if you were to drill down to the molecular structure of each individual cell, you will see that each cell is moving. Cells are not static, okay? So all of those billions of cells that our bodies comprise of are actually little cells, right, that are moving. So do you know how much energy you're putting out? Now, I like to make the link between those individual cells and, say, your mood, your emotions, how you are feeling. I think you can follow my train of thought, right? Have you ever walked into a room and maybe with a group of people and there's a certain person in that room and people say to Lukot, man, we're leaving because that one person that you met in that room has negative energy, right? We all know that situation, maybe we know someone like that. Versus the person who walks into the room and the room lights up because there's that transfer of energy. You know, I said to you guys, I started doing this, whatever, 6, 7 years ago. And I remember I would go home after a session like this, maybe it was a day session, 2-day session, whatever, and I'd be knackered, tired, okay, completely finished. And I pride myself on my fitness. And this is before I'd even started talking about things like emotional intelligence and resilience. And I used to ask myself, why am I so tired? And then, of course, it dawned on me that I was absorbing the energy of the people in the room. It goes without saying, right? Right? People are giving you a particular amount of energy, and this is concentrating me. Now, as I said, before I knew anything about emotional intelligence, I'm just going to share this story with you, by the way. I have too many stories. So I have here in my hand something called a smoky quartz. And for those in the know, this is what is known as a healing crystal. Now, before the really righteous people start challenging me and say, "Hini uchawi," first of all, let me tell you, these are naturally found in the ground, right? If we were to go all the way down to the ground floor and start digging, We find a lot of natural substances, right? Coal, lime, Kenya, who knows, oil, who knows? And we might even find some of these healing crystals. Now, of course, they're mined in huge quantities. Somebody has fashioned this very nicely. Do you know this has a particular property or properties? So remember I told you I'd be tired, knackered after a session like this. Well, I take this healing crystal, which I still have after all these years, put it in my hand, I rub it like this, and all of that, let's call it negative energy, goes into it. It's even become a little clouded, and I am tired no more. Now listen. You know what? I'm a humanitarian. I'm going to allow this to be passed around. Be very careful, because if it is dropped on a hard surface, it will chip. I'm not here to talk to you about healing crystals. And by the way, I have also here, for those of you who are single, I have a healing crystal here that has the ability for you single ones out there to attract love and all of those things. So come and see me after this talk. I will. Okay, this talk is not about the healing crystal, and I want it back. But it is about that energy that is given off, right? There's a fantastic book, readers are leaders, leaders are readers, called Molecules of Emotion. So she really digs into this, and I'm really attuned to the fact that there's a particular energy that I give off based on how I am feeling. Okay? And think about it in terms of resilience, adapting, being able to bounce back, being able to manage stress is actually about managing these emotions that we all have. And by the way, we all have them. Okay? Unpleasant emotions, certainly. I would imagine a lot of us may have experienced this for the last 24 months or 36 months. Think about it. We felt uncertainty, and I've just listed some of them, right? What do we tend to do? Make assumptions. Okay? At the beginning of this Black Swan event. Assumptions. What is this going to do to us? How is this going to affect the human race? All right? Talk about being stressed. That's Kenyan's favorite word. How are you? Oh, Nico, stressed. I'm stressed. Unani stress. What's unani stress? You will love that word. Okay? Maybe we act aggressive. The words, physically, who knows? All right? Anxiousness, something we've all experienced, continue to experience. Well, what do we do when we're anxious? Maybe we are reactive rather than proactive. When we're worried, we're program focused, so on and so forth. By the way, question for you. How many emotions do you think you experience in a 24-hour period? How many emotions do you think you experience in a 24-hour period? Let me make it simple, 12-hour period. So this time yesterday, is that 24, is that 12 hours?
24.
That's 24, okay, 24 hours. How many emotions do you think you experience? Many. How many is many? How many is many?
All of these.
5, 10, all of these. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. More than 10, less than 10.
More.
How many more? More than 20, less than 20.
More than 20.
More than 50, less than 50. Okay, let me answer that question for you. You experience as many emotions as you have thoughts. How many thoughts do you think you've had in a 24-hour period? However, most of us go through life. We are just either reacting or oblivious to those emotions, and they may be affecting how you interact with other people, your resilience, which you don't even think about it. You're just busy on your computer doing this. Thoughts are going through your head, and it is actually affecting that email that you're typing out, believe it or not. Your non-verbals. It's fascinating once you dig into how the mind works. Now, I'm not going to go into the science of emotions, but believe you me, as many emotions. Now, what we would like to do is to be able to recognize as many of those emotions as possible so that we know how to deal with them, right? Like expanding our emotional vocabulary, naming particular emotions, being able to, in the moment, as you are dealing in a real life situation with somebody in a situation, naming that emotion, dealing with it on the spot, and therefore possibly making you more resilient. Okay. I don't want to go into these positive emotions. I do want to, as I said, have a lot of videos. This is, well, this is just a clip. I just want you to observe this. There's no sound, but I want you to observe this. And do you recognize anybody from this little clip? Unajua mtu kama huyu? There he goes. Yeah, way to go. Do you know someone like that? Oh, I do. In fact, I want you right now to think of somebody who was in a leadership position that you had a relationship with, professional relationship. Mentor, coach, boss, could be current, could be past, but I want you to just bring that person to mind. In fact, if you have a little notepad, I just want you to write their initials of this particular person in your notebook, just to recall your interactions with this particular person. Okay? Now this is the most challenging. Somebody who was challenging. Now, again, somebody in a professional capacity. Are you recalling how you felt around this person? Yeah? What are the words that you can use to describe how you felt interacting with a challenging person like that? What are the words you can use to describe? Yeah, go for it. Okay, I'll start off. Demotivated. Huh? You've heard of quiet quitting? And that was me before it became fashionable. Put your jacket and to make sure you're not seen by someone like that. Yeah, it was demotivating, man. There was no incentive for me to even do the little, let alone go above and beyond. How did you feel being around that person? What words could you use for feelings? But yeah, go for it.
Small.
Small, yeah, I like that, small. And I'm sorry if this is traumatic. I certainly don't want to have the people in my session have PTSD, but the end justifies the means. Yes. Unappreciated. Yeah, that term comes up a lot. Unappreciated, yeah? Yeah, we've all been there. We all know what it's like to be around someone like that. What if I was to ask you if there's someone like that in your personal life? Huh? The same words can be used to describe that particular person? Okay. Let's keep it in the professional world. Where are we going with this? Yeah, how do they make you feel? So I asked you, demotivated, small, unappreciated. I mean, the list is endless. Some of those negative emotions we talked about earlier, anxious, stressed, okay? What thoughts did or do you have about the person or the situations? How did those situations come about? By the way, whose fault was it for a boss to make you feel demotivated or small or unappreciated? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? It's your fault? One,
It's mine.
Okay, we have two different answers. We'll start here. Why is it? No, let's start here. Why is it their fault?
Their fault because when you now sit down and share out what I've been feeling,
Yeah.
they end up saying sorry because you're able to show them whatever they have done and whatever the way they treat you is not right. So
Okay.
like, you just explain to them, and at the end of it all, they actually come to their senses and say, okay, I am sorry.
Okay, two things spring to mind. First of all, they're not that bad after all. If they're able to say, by the way, Makosa Liango, so sorry. What was I thinking yelling at you through a megaphone?
But you see, if you don't speak out, they will never come to say sorry. They will beg.
Okay. It was always their fault. All right, fair enough. Yes.
It is my fault because I shouldn't allow anybody to dictate how I feel.
Say that again. Does she need to say that in the mic? Does she need to say this in the mic? Is it on? Yeah. Say it in the mic. Nice and loud.
No one. How you are, like if you're my boss, how you are that morning does not dictate how I should feel. At all times, at all times, nobody dictate what you feel. What you feel is entirely in your control. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you said. It is your fault. There's a wonderful book called Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. I haven't written his name up there. Now, when I say it's your fault, what I mean is that you have the capability to manage the emotions that anybody, boss, ex-wife, all right, rival, whomever is making you feel. And actually, the extreme end of emotional intelligence is managing those emotions, unpleasant and pleasant. Managing them. So it's kind of a reframing of the way that you think. It's almost like somebody hijacking the power that you have. Can I use another story to illustrate? Let me try. So, how do I say this? Okay, so I was in a relationship where a Friday, yeah, like tomorrow, right? After work, come home, want to have a nice weekend. We've all worked hard during the week. And what better than yours truly selecting a movie on Netflix? After all, I mean, who has the better taste? But anyway, pick the movie, sit down to enjoy it. Sasa huyu mrembo, as the movie is starting, what is she doing? Kwa simu, like this. That thing used to, what's a word I can use for extreme anger? The trigger was huge. So of course, the words that will come out of my mouth, probably not the most pleasant. And there goes the nice weekend. Have you ever lived in a house with somebody and you pass each other like strangers in a supermarket? Yes. That's it. Now, I came to realize that I needed to handle that situation, but it wasn't her on the phone. It was my reaction, that trigger, and managing that trigger. Subsequently, I was able to do that, and things became a little better. Now that's just maybe it's a simple example of what it is, but letting somebody make you. And by the way, it's also recognizing those triggers. I'll give you a trigger. Soja, uko chini. Because I am big on customer service. So when I get this sort of greeting, kazi yako hapo nini? That is another trigger. He does this to me. But I've already prepared myself that the customer service I'm generally going to get from some. No, I'm not saying it's the case all the time, but I've already prepared myself so that I don't lose my senses and say, hey, unaongelesha nani hivyo? So part of it is beginning to prepare yourself. Now, I would love for that person, like you said, have a conversation with them and they're able to see the error of their ways. But that's not the reality of most situations we find ourselves in. Part of that is you developing this emotional intelligence, which is part of this resilience thing that we're talking to. Fortify yourself. You know the people who are going to trigger you. You know the situations, the events, right? So this is the question I'm asking. What thoughts do you have about the person, the question, the situation? And how does it affect your behavior? By the way, Emotions affect behavior, a pattern of behavior. Emotions, what am I trying to say here? Emotions influence decisions. A pattern of decisions is called behavior, and those ultimately affect our performance. So it's about managing, and that's why it's so important to be in touch with emotions, if you feel, particularly the unhealthy ones or the strong ones, so that you can either reframe the situation, take a step back, and it could be from the simple. Go dunk your head in cold water, step away, take a deep breath, walk twice around the building, whatever it is. But being able to manage that situation, it's critical, so that those emotions don't overwhelm us, because consciously or subconsciously, they are affecting you. Yeah? Are we together? Am I talking to somebody? Anybody want to give me some feedback just based on what I'm saying? Maybe you can share with us something that is similar to what I'm talking about. Or you can share a situation that you've gone through or undergone through, anything. Just so that I make sure that we're together. Yeah? As Michael Douglas says, this is the sad truth. Every decision is predicated on one of those emotions, and being able to recognize those emotions. By the way, how do you begin to recognize those emotions? We're going to do an exercise later on. But how do you begin to realize that you are actually feeling some sort of way, unhealthy way? Now, if you're feeling white-hot anger because somebody has said something to insult your village, that is obvious. But even the more subtle ones, the ones that you don't know, you just feel the hairs on your back of your neck, ding, like this. You know that scenario? You walk in on a Monday morning, and just innocently you say, hey, good morning, Caroline. Caroline says, what's good about it? And you're like, what? I mean, what did I do? Right? Then what do? You go to the kitchen, and Jack asks you, hey, did you finish that report we're working on Friday? And then you turn around and you tell Jack, I mean, what? I mean, have you, and then, do you know, a whole department can be infected, and it comes from nowhere. There's a practice I try to do. I'm not saying I'm successful. Like I said, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. But every hour on the hour, I check in with the emotions that I have felt. Now, I'll be honest with you. I mean, I can't recognize every emotion based on every thought that I have. But every hour on the hour, I do a little, it could even be a reset. What did you go through this hour? What did so-and-so make you feel? Why did you feel it? How do you want to feel? What can you do about it? And just a practice like that really helps me in terms of managing how I feel. And my world has changed. It really has. Every hour on the hour. Now you can do it in the mornings, you can start in the evenings, but it's about recognizing these emotions. Feelings matter. I can't stress that, you know. Feelings do matter. People say check your emotions that they don't know. Bring them to work, but manage them. And by the way, it's also managing the emotions of other people. That's the other half of part of this EI, or emotional intelligence. Okay, I think I'd asked, anybody want to share something about that? Decisions, behavior, performance, managing emotions? Yeah? Okay. I think I'm just reiterating the point here. It's about paying attention to how I feel, being more intentional. Okay, intentional with recognizing those emotions, like literally write them down. In fact, do this exercise. At the end of the day, tonight, for example, take a tally, write down however many emotions you can remember experiencing today. Okay? And then take a tally. Which ones were positive? Which ones were perhaps strong or unhealthy? And just do a tally and figure out, okay, am I experiencing more negative emotions? How do you think that might have affected my behavior and ultimately my performance? It's revealing. It's a revelation, and it can change an entire relationship that you have with your team, upwards or this way. Direct reports, managers, it's really revealing. Now, it's not about burying that emotion. It's not about saying, I'm not going to feel anger, anxiousness, stress. It's about recognizing and deciding to act more intentionally in terms of that. Okay, so I'm just going to leave that aside. And what I want to go to is, I wanted to talk about, oh, here we go, yeah. So here's a model that I found very useful in terms of increasing certainly my emotional intelligence and being able to handle some of these difficult and stressful situations that all of us are going through. Now, the way that this model works is that these are, you can call them competencies, pillars, platforms, and there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay? So, in fact, I'm talking a lot about this one, for example, this self-awareness. And this particular model, which is the Genos model, I should mention that, talks about being present. So having that self-awareness, recognizing your triggers, recognizing how you feel, recognizing your emotions, talks about being present versus being disconnected. Now, I don't want to go deep into this model. Maybe you can take like a picture of this, and actually each of these are topics on their own to be covered today. But it is just good to say, I mean, look at this, self-management, emotional reasoning, positive influence. These are all particular competencies in terms of emotional intelligence, which will all help in terms of building your well-being and resilience. So take either a mental picture or an actual picture of that, and just think about it. And what we want to do is we want to be more on this side as opposed to less on this side. There's something I want to get to. Apocalypse is revelation. So, at the beginning of, as I keep referring to, when our world changed, however many months ago, I remember seeing a lot of headlines that had the word apocalypse, the actual word apocalypse. What is the definition of the word apocalypse? What's an apocalypse to you? What's an apocalypse? Hey, hello. Apocalypse. What's an apocalypse? Yeah, end times. It literally is the end of the world. The end of the world is here. All right? We have a virus that is, we have no idea how it's going to affect us, and the end of the world is here. But did you know the Greek definition of the word apocalypse? If you look up the word apocalypse in the Greek dictionary, it's actually revelation. Revelation, which means a revealing of things to come. And that really spoke to me, because what has the last 36 months revealed about you? Certainly in terms of what we're talking about today. What has it revealed? That you have absolutely zero resilience. You've literally been following everything Dr. Fauci says. Listen, let's not get political here, but you know what I'm saying, right? Or perhaps you've actually discovered that you have these reserves of mental strength, emotional agility, self-management, right? Emotional reasoning, that you can actually get through hard or difficult times. What has this or any other difficult event that anybody in this room has been through revealed about you as you, the individual, as a person, as a human being? Actually, this is not a rhetorical question. I really want to find out from anybody in this room, what has tough times, whether it's the tough times that we've just gone through or any tough times that you've been through, all of us who've been through, as a price of living, revealed to you? And you can be brutally honest and said, it actually revealed that I need to work on this. Or you can say it revealed, by the way, I can do this. I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur, That revealed to me that I can actually make it through the 3-year mark and keep this business going. Barely, but going. What have tough times revealed about you? I really want to hear from somebody. Tough, challenging, difficult times revealed about you and what you have. Anyone? Yes?
The one thing I've come to realize
Uh-huh.
is when things are very difficult,
Yes.
you rarely panic. Like the panic will come after the fact. After everything is over, it's when the reality was that was a really close call. But during the actual event, I've come to realize situations. I'm able to keep my mind together. And I'll give an example. There's a time I was stuck. I think I've met someone here who knows I'm a hiker. And I was stuck high up on a mountain with a sick guide. And we were the only ones on the mountain.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, sorry. Your guide was sick.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, keep going.
And at that time, I was like, I know we have like 6 hours to go till daylight. And I was like, we'll just sit and dialogue and wait for help. I was very calm, like I never panicked. It's only later when I came down, when the whole situation ended, I realized that was really bad. Like we're talking about sleeping at 5,000 meters without sleeping gear. But yeah, I've come to realize there are times when things are really, really bad. I'll be the last person to panic. But then later on, yeah, when everyone is happy, now I'm panicking.
That's when you freak out. Where do you think that comes from? Where does your sense of calm come from?
I don't know. Possibly upbringing where you've grown up with so many things happening and you have possibly a parent who's extremely prayerful and you are not seeing the faith, you're not sharing the same faith. So I think I've over panicked over time to a point I don't panic anymore.
Do you think there's any situation at all where you would panic?
Yes. Family for me.
So if family's involved,
Family
yeah.
is in distress.
Okay.
Family is sick. For sure I will not be rational.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing that. Yeah. Sense of calm amongst all the panic. Yes, thank you. And when you see other people panicking, what do you think, by the way? Are you like, please? Toughen up. Got a spine. All right. Anyone else? Yes.
I think for me, it's mostly dependent if I think I have control over what's happening or not. So when I know I don't have control over it, then more often than not, I'll be like, it is what it is. Life happens, yeah. But when I know I have control, or say maybe case in point, it's work and things are not going well, and if you work in a place where it's very high pressure, sometimes threats are thrown in or ultimatums, I will prove you wrong. Like I will do whatever I have to do. If I don't have to sleep, if I have to beg, I'll do it. I'll try, and I think it's one way to just try and believe the things that I'm capable of doing.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and probably go in aside and just work. But if it's something I know for sure I don't have any power over, then whatever happens, happens.
It's very interesting. Any of these things, if you were to dig deep, and actually that's a very interesting part of the work that I do. So I do a lot of assessments, we talk with, all manner of professionals, and we try to find out, why do you behave the way you behave? And invariably, all of these things lead to childhood and upbringing. There's always a backstory to why people behave the way that they behave. So that's very interesting to hear you. And I'm saying that because I think your backstory possibly came from your childhood, wanting to prove people that you were right. And this has led to you.
Bring a generation of
it could be that, yeah.
validation.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think my generation.
What generation is that, by the way?
Millennials.
Help us out. Oh, you're a millennial. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, I think for millennials, and I saw someone say that's the reason why most millennials are also workaholics, and it
Are they now?
matters
Okay.
that their work speaks for them.
Okay.
It's because it's simply growing up, even in primary school, depending on what marks you got, then that made it was a dependent on which school you're going to go to. So if you're going to go to a national school, then you did well. So it's all your power. So it's it's you to decide which school you want
Okay.
to go to. So that's, I think, growing in a community with all that level of competition and the validation, I can choose like this, where also is doing better. And I think things have changed now because kids are looked at in terms of skill and all that, not marks. So I think that validation kind of right to, yeah.
And here I am thinking millennials are entitled and want things now. Oh, that's Gen Z. Okay, fair enough. Okay, revelation. Okay, is there something you're doing to enhance your resilience? I think I asked that question earlier by way of what are you doing to keep your head up open? There's something I really want to get to. Strategies, that's exactly what I want to talk about. So I've tried to make this pretty simple. And some of these strategies that all of us can do, that we can begin to practice. By the way, to me, resilience is not just about in the moment. It's about what you do when you are not under stress. It's about what you do when times are good. That will help you when the ish hits the fan. So here we go. Thinking strategies. Don't worry about the title, thinking strategies. It's just things that we can do. And I want us to have a conversation about this. Creating boundaries. Now, what do I mean by creating boundaries, do you think? What do you understand by creating boundaries? What are these boundaries? Physical, mental? What kind of boundaries? All of the above, right? Actually, it's almost like compartmentalizing. You're creating boundaries. How many people had to work from home when all this stuff happened? How many of you worked from home? Or was it you the boss of the megaphone saying, are you kidding me? Come back here. By the way, Elon Musk, emotionally intelligent or not? Really? Why do you say that? He's arguably one of the most successful human beings to ever walk the face of the earth. He's lost 100 billion and he's still... Anyway, why do you say he's not emotionally intelligent?
He doesn't care for people.
He doesn't care for people? What makes you say that?
He doesn't make radical decisions. Like the decisions he makes are more led by how it looks like, are more led by what satisfies him. So he sounds like a sadist, if you ask me.
How do you think he's become so successful?
Because he controls change.
I think he is emotionally intelligent.
You think so?
Yeah, if you walk into a company and you find a culture that you don't think is meant for success, you must change everything.
Okay.
Sometimes some blood will be spilled. I think everyone's definition of success is different.
True. Yeah, everyone's definition of success is different. But by any measure, he's successful. Whether you believe that having all of that wealth is successful, by any measure, is successful. And it's not just his wealth, it's the companies he's built, changed our way of life, taken over Twitter. I mean, he's successful. You know? But I think that's a conversation for my next talk. All right, creating boundaries. So creating boundaries to me is just compartmentalizing my life, making sure, and of course I'm saying this as a strategy in order to help you enhance your well-being, increase your resilience. And it's easy for me to stand here and say, don't take your work home, when you know you're going to be on your laptop at 11 o'clock tonight finishing up that last report. But it is something that I'm going to encourage you to do, so that when things really get tough, it has actually helped you, in terms of this particular strategy of handling the tough times. Okay. Really? Social media? How many people have that thing on their phone that tells them every week how long they've been on? Yeah, we all have it. Does it make any difference? So some of these things are nice to say, but maybe practical is a little difficult. But honestly, this social media, that one, nimejaribu. Anybody has tried? Yeah. What did you do? Which app did you get off?
Oh.
All of them. You have an appless phone.
No, not completely. Not completely.
Yes.
Take breaks.
Yeah.
And totally stay.
How long is a break?
The longest I've stayed is 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Zero social.
Kudos.
Even gym.
By the way, it can be done. And you're not alone. There are many, many people. Do you know you can buy a phone that doesn't download apps?
For real?
Yeah. What do you mean for real? I mean, we can go to the moon. Why can't we have a phone that doesn't have apps? Yeah, a phone that just does what a phone is supposed to do. Call.
It's a dumb phone.
Yeah, it's a dumb phone. Exactly. Kwanza. Yeah, you just have, I don't even know. So mine was not 2 weeks, but it was a flight from here to Europe. Simu, why is the phone? I mean, you have to catch the flight. I was like, all right, let it go. So it can be done. Listen, this is my challenge. Pick a platform, Instagram, wean yourself off that. Just get off it. Like, delete it and see how your life will be free. Yeah.
Can you share something?
Yes, please do.
Actually, I installed Instagram for a month.
You uninstalled it, yeah?
The only social platform that I left on my phone was WhatsApp.
Yep.
Because our company communicate posting through WhatsApp. So that's the only app I had on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt, especially from Instagram, you get updates, you get this, and when I meet up with people, they're like, did you see? And I'm like, no. Did you see? I felt so good.
Yeah.
Because it was all, I was in my own head. Like I was living life peacefully.
It's formal, right? And yeah, I mean, we can talk about this. There's been programs, there's been scientific research. I'm talking about this in the realm of what it can do when things really become difficult. And doing something like that for your own well-being will only help you when, this virus comes back again. So yeah, so new social media, I mean, I can go on and on. There's so many things that I can encourage you to do. Gratitude reflections. Aha. When was the last time you said thank you and really meant it? Today. When? Today when?
This evening.
This evening. What did you thank her for?
Well, it's work related. She's my manager, so.
Okay.
She's next to you.
She is. So I was getting pissed off.
Yeah.
And then there's something I couldn't do on the system that we use. And she took me through it step by step like a small child. And I felt so grateful. Because the client signed, he accepted the proposal that
Okay.
we were bringing forward. So, yeah.
How about saying thank you when she doesn't take you step by step through something? Just because. Okay, here's another challenge. I want you, we're coming up to the weekend, right? So possibly you're going to go to the supermarket or the gym or the mall or somewhere where there are strangers, people that you don't know. Here's what I'd love for you to do. That stranger, all right, say at the supermarket, I just want you to concentrate on them. Now, when I say concentrate, don't go up to a stranger at the supermarket and do this. That will be counterproductive, all right? But I want you to look at that particular person, and I want you to imagine that this person, imagine that they're a human being. They have thoughts, feelings, wishes, promises. They want a healthy life. They want happy family. They want successful relationships, and all of those things that you would want for yourself. I want you to project them onto that person and wish that complete stranger these things. Now again, don't go up to them and say, I was told to wish you a happy life. That'll freak them out. Just think it to them. Okay? And do that a couple of times and come back and report to me and tell me if this has helped you in any way in terms of your well-being or your resilience. It's a fantastic thing to start doing, just in terms of that. Now, it's great. Say thank you to your boss, say thank you to your children, say thank you to the people who least expect it, but just having gratitude for people whom you don't know is, it is so uplifting. And it'll help you with all these things. Okay, diarizing, reflection, journaling, you can call it that. Writing things down, as I said, I'm a huge proponent. Writing down my thoughts, writing down what I feel, writing down about how somebody made me feel, writing down how I want to feel. And just spending time every evening, instead of on Netflix, binging the latest vapid series, instead reflecting on how I can become a better human being, a better person in all of my relationships, personal and things. Why are you smiling at me like that? Is that something that you do? What? No, I thought you're smiling because this is something that you do. Journaling every night. It's a fantastic practice. And just spending a little bit of time on this intentional reflection, morning or evenings, which is a better time to do it. All right. Anything there that anybody wants to talk about? Give some feedback? Okay, let's go to the next one. I don't even know where these names are. Physiological strategies. Okay, whatever that means. It's basically the things like sleep. Now, let me tell you, sleep. Has anybody either, how do I put this? Maybe there's a webinar that you listen to on sleep, or you've listened to somebody on a podcast talk about sleep and the importance of sleep and things like that. Anybody here interested in sleep? First of all, is everybody getting a good night's sleep in this room? And tell the truth. Why? Why are you not getting a good night's sleep? Let me tell you, I sleep very well. I'm going to tell you. But I want to know why you're not getting a good night's sleep, first of all, before I tell you why I take sleep seriously and I sleep well. What are you struggling with?
I keep changing my patterns.
Uh-huh.
I end up sleeping well.
Okay. And what is the lesson there? How many people know what the temperature in the room is where you sleep? Why you look at me like I've asked you a question from... Do you know the temperature of the room that you sleep in? To answer the apple. Figure out...
If you check on your phone, does that count?
Because I'm looking at this room, and I'm looking at the gender balance here, and I can guarantee that you ladies are sleeping in an oven. I'm taking a wild guess. You're struggling. All right. When was the last time you changed your mattress? In other words, bought a new high-tech mattress. I'm just throwing these questions out. What? Abu, what are you saying back there? Ongea. That mattress you've had since high school. When was the last time? A mattress, and a high-tech mattress. Not the one which is sold by this guy at the light saying, unataka mattress one. Miambili, shika. Yeah, what were you going to say? I'll leave it there. Does anybody in this room sleep with a weighted blanket? A weighted blanket. Or a weighted duvet. A weighted... So it's a duvet or a blanket that has weights inside of it. So, it could be rocks, it could be pebbles. Of course, they're fashioned that way. You're not sleeping on rocks, but it is weighted so that it weighs 10 pounds, 15 pounds, 20 pounds, or kilos. So that you can get a better night's sleep. That is why I'm telling you. I'm just putting this out there. Do your research. If there is one thing that is affecting the majority of people, it is lack of good night's sleep. And some of these remedies are very simple. By the way, that weighted blanket, 3K, 4K, and it will change your life. Okay. Guys, look at me like, huh? No, the blanket is weighted. It is not warm. It is just it's got a weight.
Because it is true what you said, especially about the room temperature.
Yeah.
When we had this drought thing going on, I started sleeping with the fan on, just to keep the air cool and circulating, and the quality of sleep is amazing. Just, you always have this thing like it's going to be too cold, but you're covered up. So the room, yes, is a little chilled than the rest of the house. It really changes the experience.
And it chases mosquitoes. Mosquitoes can't. Yes? Anyway, I can go on and on about sleep. Let me leave this there. Please look at the sleep that you're having. Even getting a sleep app to track how you're sleeping, whether you're getting deep REM sleep. These apps, that's one thing the phone is good for. By the way, don't sleep next to that phone. Remove that phone, charge it in the room next door. Now, I know some of you are going to say, how are we going to wake up, Derek? Okay, that's another thing. But if there's one thing I can tell you that is going to help you, it is about managing your sleep. Make that a priority. Okay, let's move on. Okay, some of these are a bit obvious. Diet, alcohol. I mean, do I need to talk about this? Exercise. Are we exercising on a regular basis, ladies and gentlemen? Yes. Who's saying no? Do I need to talk about these? Okay, but of those three, exercise, for real. Yeah. By the way, these are not things that are just going to help you, obviously, the reasons are there, but we're talking about managing tough times, all right? And finally, anybody meditating or some form of meditation, let me call it mindfulness. Actually, the next session that I'm doing is going to be a session on mindfulness. When you think of meditation, I know a lot of you are thinking this. It's not that. It's actually mindfulness. So, but even that mindfulness will help you with your sleep. So some form of mindfulness. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, unless anybody has anything to add. But those things are really going to help you. And take them like on a daily basis is what I'm going to say. All right, let's move on. Relationship strategies. Okay, I think we have experts in relationships over here. I'm just looking around. What do you think I'm going to say when it comes to relationships? So how do you think relationships help you with tough times, or bouncing back, or managing stress? How do you think relationships help? Or what can you do in a relationship? All right. Staying connected, increasing the amount of quality relationships that you have, and obviously personal as well as professional. Staying connected, and in this world where everybody is a Zoom link away, I mean, you have no excuse. You can literally connect with anybody around the world. I think one of the more revealing things about this to me was the number of relationships around the world. Countries that I've never been to, people that I've never met, but I have quality relationships with these people. And not just in terms of business, just in terms of sounding boards, mentors, people that I can go to for advice, that sort of thing. Now, I talk about virtual interactions, obviously, if you're in that world, but obviously your physical reactions. Sitting next to your boss in a session like this is fantastic. There are some people who can't be in the same room as their boss for a session like this. And it goes both ways. It's not just it's not just A boss having a great relationship with their team, but team members having great relationship with their boss. Here's a challenge for you tomorrow. Just go to your boss and just say, there's something I want to ask you. Are you free for lunch today? I want to take you out. And pay for the lunch when you take them out. I mean, just stuff like that, which people maybe don't expect. Relationships, particularly with people who don't expect that sort of relationship, is one of the ways that you can increase your resilience. Okay? Anybody want to add? Okay, how about this last one? Leaning into difficult conversations. Anybody done that recently? Okay, that conversation that you've been putting off. Now, of course, when we talk about leaning into difficult conversations, it's not just about creating conflict with that particular person, but actually resolving that particular issue that you might be having with that person only leads to me to have a better relationship. So think about it. I think it's a fantastic way in order for you to not just manage resilience, but to live your life, increasing the quality of relationships. How many people have heard of this thing called the 6 degrees of separation? Is it 6 or 7 degrees of separation? 6 degrees of separation. Anybody heard of that? That all of us in the world, however many, 8 billion, I think we were 8 billion last count a couple of weeks ago, are separated by 6 people. Or maybe put another way, that you are a product of the 5 people that you hang out with the most, or the 6 people that you hang out with the most. Nevertheless, it's not even about the quantity of relationships, it's about the quality. Really having quality relationships with people that mean something to you. I think there's a lot to be said for that. Okay, I have one more. Let's just call them environmental. Is that possible, or am I in La La Land? Modifying work hours. Am I just fantasizing here? Okay. If you think I'm fantasizing, there's a book that has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 15 years. It's called The 4-Hour Work Week. Tell me you've read this book and you know who the author is. Anybody familiar with this book, The 4-Hour Work Week by the well-known Tim Ferriss? Pick up that book if you think you can't modify your work hours. Pick up that book if you think that you need to work 80 hours a week in order to be successful. Tim Ferriss was working for one of the largest software companies in California. Brutal hours, 120 hours a week. He wanted to spend time with his young family, and he began developing strategies to do that. And he was so successful. He didn't quit his job. He didn't kill his boss, but he was able to keep his job and work 4 hours a week. Some of you are saying, how? Somayo kitabu. Now, the goal here is not to work 4 hours a week. The goal here is for you to manage, the 24 hours we've all been given, right? Prince or pauper, all right? Queen or mere damsel, you've all been given 24 hours. How do you manage that time? And if you are living to work, then you're not living at all. That's all I'm saying. Some of you look at me saying, not in this lifetime. Well, one of the things he talks about here is email. Is email something that you love, enjoy? And we're talking about work emails here. How do you manage your emails? Has anybody ever sat through a session on how to manage emails? Simple things like creating folders, automating them, maybe delegating some of them, just something as simple as that, which can maybe free up those 120 hours that you think you have to work. Okay, let me go back to something that somebody said here about having a conversation with their boss and going to their boss and saying, by the way you talked to me that day, rudia yo maneno. And the boss was like, sure. How about having a conversation with your boss and saying, you know what? I think the hours in this company are ridiculous. And I would like to propose that can you have that conversation with your line manager?
I have.
Yes.
Not here.
Yeah, okay. Okay, okay.
But in my former place of work, I report to somebody in the US. And the time zones, of course, are different. So my boss was a lady, she would wake up, send emails, expect answers in the morning. And then she moved to Kenya. And she continues with the same work culture because she was reporting again in the US.
Yeah.
So what I did then, at some point in time, we would say, let's go to dinner. I remember one day walking to the office and saying, I want to talk to you, the person, not you, my boss. This is where I draw the line. She'd come and say, it's 5 o'clock,
Yeah.
let's go to dinner. Right, not me, just me, of course, with the rest of the team. And I'd say, sorry, I haven't made a report at home that I'm not being counted to dinner today, so I'm going to go home and have dinner. So that was one line.
And how did that go over?
Right? It went very well. The second thing that I did then is we started testing. So no work after 7, no work after 6, and we'd send an email, written subject, not urgent. My current boss is standing outside. Anyway, so we'd send a note written urgent, so that then we can see that she's going to respond. So kind of baiting. And over time, I think she just got trained to know that there's a Kenya time zone, there's a US time zone, etc., and she wouldn't touch. And weekends were free and everything. So it worked very well eventually.
All right, thank you for sharing. And obviously, in a case like that, where you have people working 2 different time zones, it would make sense to have that conversation. But imagine have that conversation with somebody who's in the same time zone as you. In fact, their office is next door. You see, some of you think a conversation like that is impossible, and I'm here to tell you, if you want to be able to manage your life, you're going to have to lean into possibly, potentially difficult conversations. It's not a question of you can't, it's just a question of how. How do I have that conversation about being able to manage my life, the so-called work-life balance, although to me it's not work-life balance. It's life-life balance. And how do you have a conversation like that in order for you to be more productive, more resilient? I want you to start thinking about these things because the burnout, the stress, people doing damage to themselves for life is surely, I don't think, the way for you to go. That's all I'm going to say. All right, where are we going with this? So here we go, structuring email, call times, playing music, ensuring you're taking care of yourself financially. Okay. So those are all things that we can do. Overall, what I'd like you to do is just write down a list of some of the things that you, based on some of these strategies that we've talked about, that you can start implementing right away. Ones that you perhaps need to formulate a game plan. And ones perhaps that, you know, beginning of next year, we're going into 2023. How do you want 2023 to be? Because it's true. I think the cliche is there about living your best life. And living your best life includes being able to work and for you to be at your most productive, to be at your most motivated, and to be at your most successful. Okay? All right. Did I have another video? I'm trying to figure out what video this is.
I get really mad when my brother hits me a lot.
From the mouths of children.
I don't like it when you say you don't want to play with me.
When I'm mad, my brain can get a headache and it can start hurting.
Your blood keeps pumping because you're like really mad. And you start to get sweaty because you're getting really, really mad. And then when you start getting really mad, you turn red. When your body can't really control yourself, mad just takes over your body. I just get out of control. It's kind of like if you had a jar and then the jar would be your brain and then you put glitter in the jar and that would be how you would feel. If you shook up the jar and the glitter went everywhere, that would be how your mind looks. And it's like spinning around and then you don't have any time to think. And you sometimes punch stuff and people when you don't really mean it. When I get angry, I feel it in my heart. I really don't like when I get angry. the amygdala really reacts, but the prefrontal cortex tries to keep it down. When I feel like I want to, get really angry and yell, I just sometimes, take deep breath. First you find a place where you can be alone, then you find some way to relax and calm down. When I need to calm down, I take deep breaths. I breathe in through my nose.
Okay, I'm just going to pause it there because, the wisdom of these young kids. When was the last time you just sat there and took a deep breath? When was the last time you did that? Well, guess what? We're going to do it right now. Okay. So what I want us to do, now literally, breathing. We're going to close all the tabs on. So first of all, I want you to sit comfortably in your seat. Okay. Ideally, both feet on the floor. Okay. Just where you're comfortable, put your hands where they're comfortable. Okay, relax. And I just want you to, as I said, forget about what's outside there. Now, listen, I'm going to say this. I want you to do it. If you're struggling with doing it, don't worry. This is a practice that takes literally practice. But just relax, just forget about the world. Everything is in this room. Comfortable. And just begin to soften, as they say, your face. Just relax. Your shoulders that are hunched, just let them relax. Okay? You don't have to close your eyes for this exercise. You can close it if it helps. But I want you to think about one thing that's important in your life. Just one thing. And ideally not work. So maybe someone in your life, maybe a situation, not work related. Just think about it. Just marinate in those thoughts. Okay? Now, as you're thinking about this person that's important in your life or this situation, I want you to think about your feet. Okay? So just now, you don't need to look at your feet, but I just want you to think about your feet. How do they feel in your shoes? Okay. How does the carpet feel in your feet? I literally want your thought to be about your feet. Now, if you think about something else, your mind is racing, don't be judgmental, just bring it back and think about your feet. Okay, now I want you to think about what is the sensation that your feet are giving you. What do you think they're telling you about where you are in life right now? What do you feel? Hot, cold, tingly? In fact, is there any part of your body right now that is telling you something? Are you feeling any discomfort somewhere? Back, shoulders, stomach, head? That's telling you something about your life and how you live your life. Okay. Okay, the practice is over. We can, you can come back. Now, there's literally thousands of exercises like this. I didn't even tell you to breathe. I simply told you to focus on a part of your body and ask you what that sensation in your body is telling you. But something like that, something that you can do at the end of the day or at lunchtime, or in the middle of the workday, and just shut the world out, focus on your body, and your body is telling you, I feel it in my stomach when I'm, getting stressed, can reveal so much to you and lead you into then doing certain things to help alleviate possibly that particular stress and things like that. But we go through life oblivious, living with that sort of pain, if you can call it chronic pain, ignoring the sensations in our body. Now, here's one good thing these phones are for. There are so many apps that you can go through that can take you through practices like this, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. I'm lucky, I have Alexa, which is, the AI device. Every night before I go to bed, in fact, that's another reason I'm able to sleep so good. Alexa will just take me through a 3-minute, 5-minute practice like this, and I am unconscious until I wake up. So think about it. For those of you who've never done anything like this, introduce it in small doses. And to be honest with you, sometimes it's difficult. You either don't have the time, or it's just maybe your mind is racing too much. But beginning to introduce it in small doses will do all of us a world of good. Okay. Any feedback about that, by the way? Maybe there are people who are doing a mindfulness practice. Anyone doing anything similar to what I've done? It could involve breathing or anything, yeah? Does it work for you?
Yes.
Did you struggle with it at the beginning?
Not, because I used to be an overthinker.
Mm-hmm. Just speak up a little bit so they can hear you at the back.
Yeah, I used to be an overthinker.
Mm-hmm.
I would have like a million tabs open in my mind. You'd be talking to me, I'm listening to them, also thinking about so many things. And I started with breathing in, breathing out, and also putting like soft music. No, not like really music, but
like white noise.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah. And even at times sounds of rain.
Yep.
And I just
Yeah.
and with time I've come to, it has really helped me.
So it's a regular part of your life now.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes, yeah.
Do you guys want to share anything? Yeah? Some of you, maybe you're doing a practice there? Like that? Yeah? You sit in silence for an hour before you sleep. That's very good. I want to know which part of Nairobi you live in, but that is fantastic. No, I'm not kidding, for real. And how does it help you?
Sometimes when I'm ready, because I don't sleep with my phone. It's in another room.
Okay.
I don't even know when I'm falling asleep.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't think an hour ends. So I'm just...
And it helps you fall asleep quicker. Okay. It's just the sleeping part that sometimes you struggle with. Yeah, it's and some of this stuff, even me the first time, this is like, what is this woo stuff? How is this going to help my life? But it really has. And not just me. People that I know, people that I've talked to, people that have gone through this practice together. And like I said, you struggle, but we all can do from that. All right. So does resilience mean that there's no stress, there's no difficult times, that any difficult situation that you go through simply means you can handle it? Actually, did you know that stress can be good for you? Did you know that? Yeah? How did you know that? How is stress good for you? How can stress be good for you? Huh? How can it be good for you? Here I am, I've spent the entire time talking about managing it, getting rid of it, doing this, and then how is it good for you? How can it be good for you?
It makes you see things from a different perspective. Yeah, like the way you are accustomed to certain things, and then a certain situation happens to you, get stressed, and then you actually think from a different perspective. You're like, oh, so this happened so that I could learn how to do this and this and this. Time management, this and
So you're saying going through some kind of stressful, adverse situation actually makes you stronger and better able to manage it or subsequent events like it. Is that what you're alluding to? Okay, possibly. Any other reason that maybe stress might be beneficial?
I get solutions faster.
When...
Because I want to get out of the stressful situation.
Yeah.
I will think how to do this for the most possible way, and I have to get into that situation.
Okay, so consequently, do you think living your life where you're constantly fighting crises, do you think that might be doing some damage to you? Because that's where you thrive. You thrive under those adverse conditions.
Like that. So for the situations that call for me to act and get out of that situation, and I find solutions like this.
Do you look for those type of situations?
I don't like them. That's why I want to get out.
But you thrive under them?
I can, yeah.
Okay, yeah, you said you're calm. Believe it or not, I had another video. But before I show that video, I wanted to share something with you. Do you think zebras get ulcers? Yeah, a zebra. Do you think zebras have ulcers? Yeah.
I would say yes.
Okay. I'm going to say they don't. Now, let's imagine the life of a zebra, right? Right here, National Park, right? Zebra wakes up in the morning, goes out into the wonderful plains, and starts eating that luscious grass. That's breakfast, right? As it's eating that grass, there's another animal in the bush over there, not so far away, also looking for its breakfast, right? So 15 minutes into its delicious meal, out comes charging a lion, also looking for its meal. Now, for the next 20 minutes, that zebra is under the most intense pressure that you can imagine, right? It's literally running for its life. Now, let's just say that the lion gets its cousin, poor cousin, all right? Instead of this said zebra that we're talking about. You know, the zebra has a very interesting internal mechanism. It resumes its meal, which had been rudely interrupted by the way, and completely forgets that literally seconds ago you were running for your life. And in this scenario, let's imagine the zebra has 3 healthy meals. So this happens at breakfast, then at lunchtime again, unakula, wah, guys, we have to scatter, man, we're being chased. Comes back, resumes its meal. By the way, it resumes its meal, it's not even looking over its shoulder to see, is another lion coming? It's like the event never happened, it's erased. So that happens lunchtime and happens in the evening. If you were in the hooves of a zebra, not the shoes, the hooves of a zebra, how long before you said, this life, I'm done. See ya. It's been real. But the last 6 hours have been hell. I can't. Siwezi. Right? In fact, the zebra has, it's an extreme, I don't even know physiologically, that's just how God created it. Imagine if you could live your life like that. Forgetting every traumatic event. You walk up to a girl and say, hi, so I was wondering, and you're like, yeah, keep wondering. That way? And you're like, you know what? You go to the next, instead of having that haunt you for the rest of your life. I'm just saying, yeah, so zebras don't get ulcers. Only human beings do. Actually, I don't know about other animals, but human beings, yeah. That's why we're chugging peptide. Actually, stress can help you in certain circumstances. Now again, this is not for you to seek out those type of situations. But part of this whole conversation about resilience is perhaps not to run away from situations, and I'm using stress as a multitude of some of these negative emotions and situations that we're going through. Up to and including, think about it, relationships with people who are difficult. Boss, neighbor, partner. Okay? Maybe developing strategies to manage them, but also using them perhaps to help you develop certain ways of dealing with them. Okay, so I wanted to show something here. This is literally, I think, the final video. So it's a Resilient East Africa challenge. Those of us at Genos, we went through this. But this is very interesting. Just check that out. Okay. Now, to be honest with you, I don't know about enjoying it, but it is about, yeah, that might be a little bit of a stretch, but it is actually about, perhaps, as you said, this is when you're at your best. Hey, you know, the other day there was an aircraft that went down on in Tanzania. Was it the Precision aircraft? It was just 2 weeks ago, which is a very interesting story. Now, I wasn't able to read exactly more or do more research into how that pilot performed, but there is one really famous case that I think some of you may have heard of, right? The Miracle on the Hudson. Yeah, Captain Sully, great movie was made about it, Tom Hanks, right? And by the way, if you obviously the movie and read the book, I think the book is more revealing about exactly how this guy managed to save all of those people and land that plane, right? And for those of you who don't know, right, the plane took off, JFK, and birds hit the engine. And that plane was doomed. And this guy landed that plane. Now, there are many things, his preparation, the fact that, but the most revealing thing was the fact that under that intense pressure of being able to land that plane that's hurtling at thousands of miles an hour on a body of water and keep it intact and save all those people, it's because of the crisis in that moment that he was able to perform that particular feat. And maybe that's a revelation that some of us need. A really stressful situation in order for us to reveal our true strength. And part of that also is maybe those strategies that I've talked about and other things that I may or may not have mentioned have actually prepared you for that particular moment so that you don't wilt. You know, I wasn't completely honest when I talked about revelation. When, again, I just use this event because it's the event that changed my life the most. I did not leave the house, my apartment, between March the 20th, 2020 and March the 20th, 2021. I did not leave my house. I left my house to go get vaccinated. That's why I left my house. Okay. So maybe it revealed something different about me. Maybe I'm not that resilient. Maybe I'm not that strong. Maybe I don't have the reserves. But, you know, and maybe it speaks towards my social life. But regardless, today, if that same thing was to happen, I can tell you, I'll behave much differently. So think about a challenge that you may have faced recently at work, in your personal life. What did it reveal about you? What do you think you could have done differently? What do you think you can do now to prepare yourself for when the inevitable comes? It's going to come. If it's not coming tonight, it's coming tomorrow. If it's not coming tomorrow, it's coming this weekend. Could be small, could be huge. That's the world we live in. Okay? And part of this conversation is about being able to prepare ourselves, handling it in the moment, managing our emotions. So just like Sully, you can actually save thousands of lives and generations to come. I mean, literally, that's why it's called the miracle on the Hudson. And like I said, I really want to find out how this particular pilot, although regrettably some lives were lost, but he still saved the majority of lives. And if he went through the same strategies, if you will, as Sully. Oh, yeah. Okay, folks, I think that is our conversation today. Oh, there's zebras on half. You know what? I put this up here as a sort of an example of a resilient day, if you will, for lack of a better word. Now, it's not the specific things here that matter, but I want you to think about your resilient day. What are the things that you can do starting tomorrow, Friday, in order for you to live your best life? What can you do? Let's start with the morning. What are you going to do when you get up tomorrow morning? First of all, what time do you get up in the morning? I don't know if that's a segue, but as I said, managing time is my superpower. What time are you going to get up tomorrow morning? You know, it's interesting. You ask a question like that, people find something very interesting on the floor or on the ceiling. They're like, what time are you going to get up tomorrow morning? 6:20? 5:20? 8? Do you think getting up earlier? Now listen, I am a member of Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. club. I think there are a lot of reasons to get up earlier, but by no means am I saying get up at 5. And by the way, I get up much earlier than that. Don't even ask me why, but that's neither here nor there. But I think getting up earlier allows you to perhaps do some of these things. Maybe do some journaling, maybe do some meditation, maybe do some exercise, maybe do some mindfulness, you know, generally. So you're not, you go up, and then, you know. Okay. Then, I don't know, you come to work. What do you think you'll do when you come to work? Or ideally, we're talking about a resilient day. So you check into work, here you are. Fantastic office officers. I mean, come on now. They can't have set this up any better. What are you going to do when you check into work? When you walk in through the doors of your office, whatever floor you're on, what are you going to do?
Take coffee.
Huh? Take coffee.
Say hi.
Okay, yeah, coffee is good. I love coffee. After you've taken your coffee, I like what you said. Say
hi to people.
Yeah. Don't be stingy with those good mornings. Walk to every... And not that you're a nosy Kenyan saying, that's a... Yo, Lama, what? What guy? Oh, sorry, you're in the front line. You're not being nosy, but you just genuinely. How's it going? Is it good? You know? Yeah, but don't be stingy with your good mornings. Salimia watu. Okay, then what else? What else can you do? What else do we have here? How often are you going to check your emails? Yeah, some people work like this. Email, work, email, work, email, work. How about maybe scheduling certain times during the day to check your emails? Like once a day? Can't happen, right? It can't happen? Why not? Why can't it happen? Why can't you check your emails once a day? Huh? Yes. What industry? That's what, let me tell you something. That's what Tim Ferriss said until he wrote a bestseller. His work was email. Everybody's work is emails.
Service industry work is emails.
We're all in the service industry. Okay. Well, let's leave that in abeyance. Maybe we can, work on that. 10 o'clock or 10:30, your tea break. For Kenyans, it's ni haki yetu, tea break. What are you going to do during your tea break? Huh? Did somebody say take away?
Step away.
Or step away? Yeah. Step away. What do you mean by step away? Step away and go where?
Yes.
And?
Either interview for that tea or take a walk.
Yeah, maybe take a walk. Yeah. Guys, look at your day. Figure out things that you can do, obviously, that will not hamper your work, your productivity, your performance, your relationships, and begin to introduce them. Okay? Up to and until you go to bed. Like, seriously, just look at how you live your day. And maybe some of you are already doing this. This is just a reminder or reinforcing some of the things. But I think we all deserve, as I said, to live our best lives. All right, that is it. I think I'm going to end with homework. No, well, what can I say? Check in, identify with how you're feeling, pursue activities that generate positive emotions, figure out your triggers. Why not? Huh? All of that is going to help. There we go. The aforementioned Mike Tyson, right? Everybody has a plan. You walk into the ring, pow, somebody hits you, right? That's life. But we get up, we dust ourselves off, and we start all over again. Hey, life is for the living. We'll go through this, but we begin to get better. And by the way, it's not about getting knocked down all the time. It's about improving so that those knockdowns are fewer and farther between, right? I love that quote from Mike. Here's another one, Zig Ziglar, the famous motivational speaker. It's not what happens to you in life, it's how you deal with it. Again, you're going to get those things, but it's about managing them. Let me tell you, as I said before, spending a year hiding from the world is not the way to live. I can now fully say that should anything happen and our world is changed again, I have the wherewithal to be able to survive it. And Mandela, gonna get knocked down, but rising up every time you fall. I think that's a success in life. And that's what I wish for all of you guys. That you can handle what life is going to inevitably throw your way in a way that allows you to be the best version of you. Okay. There's some books here that I put them all together. Anybody interested in emotional intelligence, this book by Daniel Goleman is a fantastic one. If you want to start seriously getting into meditation and mindfulness practice, this guy, Dan Harris, he was a reporter, famous reporter with ABC. This 10% Happier. Fantastic about what he went through, how he's been able to bring in some of these practices to make him more successful. And then there's this book by Angela Duckworth. In fact, she has a fantastic TED Talk called Grit, Passion and Perseverance, and this book on resilience. So those are just a couple of titles that I thought you might find interesting. You can pick them up or get the audio version, whatever works for you. All right, David Rock, Your Brain at Work. That's fantastic as well. Okay. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there as my contact information should you wish to continue this conversation. But I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause, including all of you on the live stream. You've been a fantastic, and I mean it, a fantastic audience. Guys, give yourselves a round of applause. Well done. Seriously. Okay. I'm going to, maybe just a few minutes. I want to be conscious of your time. Any feedback you want to give me, any questions, anything I may or may not have addressed. And then, as I said, we can continue this conversation as the days continue. I do have one quick announcement that if you are so inclined, the rooftop bar at your very same Kofisi, there is a drink for those of you who want, and of course for you guys to continue networking. So please feel free to go up to the rooftop after we've finished with our activities down here. Okay. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that was that's Kofisi. Thank them, not me. But seriously, anything that you would like to add to this conversation before we part ways? How about this? What do you think you can start doing? I've already kind of made you say this is what you're resilient in. But anything from this conversation that you can absolutely say, Derek, I'm going to start doing that. Anything that anybody here said, by the way, you're on the answer. Yes?
Saying thank you.
Saying thank you. Okay. Fantastic. I like that. The gratitude practice. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I like that. And by the way, with those thank yous, compliments, thanking people who least expect it. You know, there are people who work in industries where they do a task that some of us don't even consider that important, and nobody says thank you to them, you know? So I love that, saying thank you. Start doing? Okay, stop doing. Anything as part of this conversation where I say, now I'm going to stop doing that, Derek. Anything. Sleeping with the phone. Yeah, by the way, yokulala na simu. That one. You've heard about the blue light, right? Everybody knows that, right? Yeah. Sleeping with the phone. Okay. Anything anybody is going to continue doing, saying, I'm already doing this, I'll just continue. Continue doing. What is that? What? Continue doing what?
Journaling.
Continue journaling. You're already journaling, right? Fantastic. Yes? Complimenting your colleagues. Okay. All right. Guys, fantastic. Kindly fill out those cards. Asante sana. Please do continue networking, get to know each other, and stay tuned for the last and final session of this Masterclass series. Asante sana. Have a good evening. God bless. And stay safe. Bye-bye. All right. Oh, yeah. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that.
just as you said, if you feel inclined to have a glass of wine, with all heat and salad floor, you're most welcome. And then I think after that you can leave at
Okay, so I mentioned a few of those, right? So you want me to give you more? I think, first, also for me, sleeping at, I think I mentioned this, sleeping at a regular hour. And I think I sleep better, and that's just how I'm wired. I sleep better when I sleep earlier. For some reason, when I stay up late, even when I have work to do, I would rather sleep early, get a good night's rest, because I really do sleep very well. And then get up early and I have a presentation to do or something like that, or there's some work I need to catch up on, and do that in the morning rather than stay up late to finish that work and then go to bed and then wake up groggy. That tends to happen for me. Okay, I'll be honest with you. I practice something called OMAD. Anybody familiar with OMAD?
Yeah.
What is OMAD?
1 meal a day.
Yeah, 1 meal a day. Eating once a day, to me, which I've been doing for the last 3 years, has coincidentally also been the period when I've been sleeping my best. And I think it's simply because of how we are built as human beings. I do not think human beings were designed to eat 3 meals a day. That is a late 19th or 20th century practice. Actually, for most of humankind, we ate very sparingly. It could have been twice a day, but 1 meal a day to me has, and like I said, I mean, I think the best shape of my life. No. So I don't eat breakfast. I don't eat lunch either. So I have an early dinner. And don't forget, I go to bed ridiculously early. So I have an early dinner, okay? Now again, I need to give my stomach time to digest the food, but eating 1 meal a day, in other words, just reducing how much food I eat. Am I suggesting that all of you eat 1 meal a day? No. You've got to figure out what works best for you. But for me, you asked me, it's, as I said, coincided with me getting really good sleep. I've also started a practice, now to be honest, the last 2 years, not the last 3 years, called, I'll give it to you. It's an ancient Indian practice called Ayurveda. Anybody familiar with this at all? Ayurveda. Now, Ayurveda, as I said, it's an ancient Indian practice, but it's practiced by millions of people around the world. Part of this includes, hello, sleep. So my Ayurvedic calendar or clock, okay, let's call it clock, has me sleeping at certain time. Now, Ayurveda is actually a principle that's based on our body. Our bodies are made up of air, water, fire, and, okay, they say earth. But all of us have one of those compositions, you look at me, have one of those compositions that is in excess. And part of the Ayurvedic lifestyle is about reducing. So it's either reducing the fire, reducing the water, reducing the earth, and balancing. And part of that balance is diet, exercise, but it's sleep. So my Ayurvedic calendar has me sleeping, as I said, ridiculously early. But subsequently, it also means I wake up early and I'm able to, again, do things when everybody is dead to the world. And yours truly is up at, should I say it? Did I tell you what time I get up?
Yeah.
It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
before that. No, not 1. No, not 1. Don't be crazy. 1 o'clock. Yeah. So I usually get up between, let's say between 2 and 3. Yeah. I'm not going to tell you what time I go to bed. But I get a full, oh, by the way, it's also sleeping the full 7 hours, minimum. 6.5, 7, 8. Also, I don't sleep in on the weekends. So when you call people and they're unconscious at 11 o'clock on a Saturday saying, dude, why are you calling me at 11? Why are you calling me in the middle of the night? I have lived my life. So some of these things, again, read about him, do some research, begin to introduce them, but for me, it's changed my world, and it might change yours. Yeah, so no, but then again, as I said, it's not like you don't have a life. You can certainly go out, you can stay out late, you can do certain things, but generally, yes. Read up on this. This Ayurveda is really interesting. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Enjoy. We will see you later.
Bluetooth mode.